so we're recording. Okay, perfect. So welcome everyone. Today we just wanted to go over a few details about our upcoming workshop, the Psychedelic Breathwork shop. It's going to be at Studio Cleveland on April 26th, and it's going to be from 7 to 9:30. And I just thought we would just share a little bit about us and then go over some of the specifics of the workshop. That way you guys have a better idea of what this workshop is about. And it's so powerful. This work is so beautiful, so powerful, transformational. So we really wanted to share as much information as we can beforehand so that all of you have an opportunity to consider it. And it's hugely beneficial. So we want to share this information with you. We obviously invite you to come and to join. My name is Lynette Ramos, and I am a quantum healing hypnosis practitioner. And essentially, in simple words, this modality is about helping people to address trauma, address addiction, deep emotional wounds. It also can involve mystical experiences. So the modality that I facilitate is about reaching these higher levels of consciousness that can assist with healing and also igniting creativity, etc. And so this breathwork workshop, I think, it's a beautiful tool, and it's kind of in line with what I already do. And I want to introduce my co-host. She's the one that actually created this workshop. It's really beautiful and powerful. I assisted her, and she has graciously offered me to come and assist her, and I'm really honored to do that. So please introduce yourself.
Thank you. So I'm Kathy Wojtek. I am a holistic psychotherapist and an advanced clinical hypnotherapist, amongst many other things, of 15 years now. And the breath work is something that I know when I was first introduced to it, I absolutely hated it because I'm going to be real, it's not like an extremely pleasant experience while you're in it. But the great thing about it is that you can go into a session with any intent. So this I think differentiates some other breathwork forms. I have you come up with an intent going into the session. So the intention could be anything like Lynette was talking about. So maybe you're struggling with, past traumas. Maybe you feel disconnected to the spiritual realm. Maybe you have no clue what your life purpose is. Maybe high anxiety. It could be something even simple and basic, like difficulties with sleep, physical pain. So the beauty with this is that once you learn how to do this technique, you can implement it at any point throughout the day in little bits and pieces. So you wouldn't be taking it into a full-blown session, but just the technique in itself is going to help you release what you need to release and actually deal with it instead of shoving it down or avoiding, checking out, which we all commonly, do those things. So at the workshop, there will be, more in detail. We'll go into some handouts and explain it more. There's a lot of different benefits that you can get from it. And again, that'll all be listed out in the packet, but just to be able to have more mental clarity, to kind of even get out of your mind and drop down into your body and into your heart and into your feelings. Just like with, meditation, this is going to be kind of something you can add to that. So if you're already familiar with meditation, then this actually takes you even deeper than that. And I don't know if you want me to get into this now about did you want to talk about the levels now? The different levels?
Yeah,
okay.
We're gonna, as she mentioned, we're gonna have a handout that we give you on the day of the workshop. But right now, I just wanted to show you one part of that. And I thought this is a really great way to illustrate kind of how diseases and how imbalances kind of are created, and then how to reverse it and go into a space of healing. So as you can see on this document, there's 4 different levels. So there are many theories and ancient knowledge around the fact that everything starts at the spiritual level. So even when we have some sort of physical or emotional ailment, it starts at the spiritual level. So it goes from the spiritual, then you may have some mental challenges around it, some struggle, some emotional distress, and then it goes into your physical, or can go into your physical. So the beautiful thing about this breathwork technique is basically we're starting in the physical, right? So, and we're going to go into this more the day of the workshop, but when we're breathing, as we're kind of dropping into ourselves, we may kind of feel like, fidgety, we can't get comfortable in our physical body, we're going to have some resistance, right? So we're pushing through the physical resistance. Then we may go into the emotional resistance, like, feeling uncomfortable, feeling like you don't want to face, this, or you're uncomfortable. So then we move into that. So basically this technique is going to push through these levels of resistance that in our everyday waking life we have. And it's in a way that is manageable. So yes, people may have some resistance coming up, but we're going to show you some ways to get through that. And so as Kathy mentioned, if you're doing this on your own, you may not do it for the duration that we're going to do it in the workshop, which really takes you really deeply into the spiritual realm. But as she mentioned, on an everyday basis, you can do this where maybe you're addressing some emotional challenges that you have. And Kathy, feel free to add anything you'd like.
Yeah, so the way that I usually describe it to clients too is that if you look at it too from like a perspective of how do we get sick, right? How do we get contaminated? And so just like when somebody's sneezing, the germs are going out into the air, and then depending on the person's health and their protection that they, and the care for their body that they have at the physical, and then all of those additional levels is going to determine, how does that get absorbed into the body. And so I typically now am a pretty healthy person, and I have all these layers of protection. And so just like that would happen, with germs, it's going to be the same thing with if somebody is having thought forms that are coming out either around your field, directed towards you. So that is going to be absorbed into these different levels, and you're going to take it in as your own if subconsciously, you're choosing to. So that's the other side to this, is that there's the subconscious and unconscious levels that people don't even realize in regards to like self-sabotage that's going on. And so a lot of people have unhealthy boundaries. So this is a way to kind of learn how to not only release and let go, but how to use this in a way to even strengthen all of those different layers, to make it so that, no one and nothing is going to enter that space without your permission. It's going to bring to light some of those unconscious and subconscious beliefs or thought forms or behavioral patterns that you're having. And so that can show up in different ways. Not everybody is going to,
Let's see.
breathing, and maybe they immediately start feeling that panic anxiety in their chest, and maybe that's all that they're used to, is just feeling and not really connecting with the thoughts. Well, you continue to breathe through it, and the goal would be to just keep breathing and be aware of what's coming up. So you may get up to the point of regressing back to an event that then it becomes clear that that's the core issue or what happened in the past, where then you can get in touch with what was the conclusion you made about yourself. And as you're breathing through, you're releasing it through these different layers, and you've completed, they're called cycles. So everybody is going to have different amounts of cycles. Some person in a session might only have one. I've had some where it was like a projector movie screen out of control, like where I flashed through so many different cycles. So basically, once you get through a cycle, you're going to know, because it's almost like you have this sense of peace and a full mind, body, spirit release. And then depending on the time, you might go through another. And so physical symptoms might start popping up, or maybe thoughts start coming to you. And so the most important thing with this too is that you want to just breathe through whatever layer you're starting at or whatever layer is showing up for you. Sometimes it's existential, so maybe you're having communication with a deity or a higher power. Maybe there's some anger and resentment you have towards a higher power that might show up. And so you're just going to keep breathing through and releasing it instead of holding on to it, where you continue to just keep, you know, absorbing that stuff. So that's a perfect example. Like if somebody's up in the spiritual and they have a piece come up with anger and resentment towards their higher power, and then they stop breathing and stop the process, all they're doing now is they're going to have it go all the way back down, back into the body, where you're just shoving it down and imprinting and keeping it there. And so the whole purpose of this is, you know, to have some awarenesses as to why you're behaving the way that you're behaving and why you're feeling the way that you're feeling, but then also to release it and let it go and cut those cords so that you're not using that as an unconscious way to pretty much self-sabotage or victimize yourself.
Yeah, and I know a couple things that stood out. I'm going to stop sharing this. A couple things that stood out with what you were saying is, number one, I think this is going to be great for empaths, right? Because it's learning how to differentiate what's mine, what's not mine. Another thing is that many of us, as you mentioned, when we push things down, we don't have the tools. We're afraid to, face some of these things because we feel like we're going to be overwhelmed. So this is an opportunity we're going to be creating this safe container. So we're going to be adding in some sound healing, essential oils. There's all of these things that we're going to take precautions so that when you're in this sacred space, you're going to feel safe, right? To be able to process these things. And we're going to be with you every step of the way so that, we're going to be aware of if someone's having some challenges or if someone has questions. So we're going to make sure that we walk you through it. So that way that the things that have kind of been repressed and the things that you haven't been able to deal with, you're going to be able to kind of push through. At least you're going to have all the tools to be able to do that. And so I just wanted to let you guys know, like the last workshop, I mean, the type of healing that I saw within, 2 hours was incredible. I mean, it was so beautiful. I mean, I've taken part in shamanic ceremonies in Ecuador and in other places, and this has the flavor of that. Obviously, there's not going to be any sort of medicine administered or anything like that. This is all purely energetic and through our own breath that we're able to tap into these higher levels. But I just want to, it's difficult to explain the power in this type of night, this type of event, this type of space until you experience it. And so I just invite you, if anyone is feeling like they're stuck and feeling like they know that there's something more, I welcome you. And even if you're not having any challenges per se, let's say you're trying to go to the next level in your career. Let's say there's something, a creative project that you have that you want to make sure that you're bringing your entire self and that you're tapping into these places of wisdom within yourself. This is also a beautiful technique for that as well. So, I mean, we're excited, we're excited to be able to facilitate. We love Studio Cleveland. Every time I've been there, and I think Kathy can say the same, we've had really great experience. So again, it's going to be the 26th. So I have the date right. I keep feeling like that's the wrong date.
Yeah, Friday. Yeah, Friday the 26th from 7 to 9:30.
7 to 9:30, and I'll make sure that we have a link to the event, and we have a flyer as well. So I'll make sure to post that. And if any of you have any questions, let's say you're interested and you're wondering if your particular situation, if you can, maybe get some help for that, or you have any questions that, just for clarity, just let us know. I'll also have our email address listed as well. So that's it for me. Anything for you, Kathy?
No, I think that about sums it up. And I'm sure if not us together, that I'll probably, even myself, I could probably post something, another, video, maybe another week out or so. So
perfect. All right. Well, so thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to seeing you on the 26th. And again, welcome any questions. Have a wonderful day. Bye.